So in our business, when a client, commits an assault or commits a sexual assault or some type of offense against a person, they're generally issued either a no contact order or a military protective order. Now, I've had to say this 1,000 times. No contact order means no contact. No contact is no contact is no contact. Not direct, not indirect, not digital, not smoke signals, none. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many people are like, well, all I did is gave a smiley face emoji on her website or on her blog or on her feed or on her whatever. Yeah, that's contact. Have you run into that problem before?
Multiple times. 100% multiple times. And it does not matter how clearly the no contact order is written or the protective order, what it states. Soldiers often like to try to get a way around it. And the answer is no contact is no contact.
Right. So a military protective order is a command issued order, and it applies only in the military. Now, a CPO is a civilian protective order. It's issued by a court of competent jurisdiction. And that is something that can be enforced in the courts, right? So military protective order, not enforced in the courts. CPO, civilian protective order, enforced in the courts, right? So those are the two big differences between the two, except they all mean the same thing. Don't talk to the person that is the subject of the order. Goodness. If I had a nickel for every time that somebody violated a MPO or a CPO or a no contact order, I would have been retired twice by now. So what should a soldier do if they get an MPO? What's the first thing they should do?
Stop all communication. Block that caller's phone number. Cut off any joint accounts or photo sharing or joint social media accounts. They want to stop any kind of contact or response or anything having to do with that individual, to include trying to use a go-between. Not telling her best friend something to tell her, or not telling his, whatever to tell him something. It's just all communication stops unless it goes through an appointed person who is appropriate to do that, or like the chain of command.
Right. And that includes don't talk to any witnesses that you're prohibited from talking to, because sometimes commands will issue this blanket order that says don't talk to any witnesses, and they'll name them. Now, some of those are overly broad, right? You can't talk to anyone in the battalion.
Yeah.
Well, come on, you can't. That's an overly broad. If you get that order, you need to see a lawyer immediately who can shape that order, because that's overly broad.
Exactly.
But if there is a legitimate reason to have a protective order or a no contact order, you got to obey that order, because they are enforceable, and you'll result in more punishment down the road. I'll tell you, as I sit here today filming this, I have 2 clients that are sitting in pretrial confinement, not because of the offense they committed, for violating a protective order, violating a military protective order.
And we've both had clients where the alleged misconduct was determined to not actually be misconduct, and that went away, but yet they got in trouble for the violation of the no contact order or the military protective order.
Another issue that comes up with military protective orders is when both parties work in the same base or the same environment. And I've had commanders say, you can't go to the gem, you can't go to the commissary, you can't go to the PX, and you have to go somewhere else to do that. And those might be a little restrictive also. So if you've got an overly restrictive protective order, you need to seek counsel to try to get that massaged into a workable protective order. And then if you happen to see the person you're not allowed to see, report it immediately to your command and lawyer. I would say report it to your lawyer and then the command, but you need to report it immediately to your lawyer and command to make sure that everyone's tracking that there was incidental contact.
Yes, I've told my clients, saw their, spouse that they're supposed to be on a no contact order in the PX, turn around, walk the other way, send me a text, send your, first line supervisor a text, just saw her in the PX, turned around and left, didn't talk. Immediately report it so that everybody knows you did what you were supposed to do.
One of the major pitfalls that I see in this is when there's children involved, and the protective order is against the spouse, but not the children. And, your client wants to see their kids, and they will violate the protective order to see their children. What needs to happen in that instance is you need to see your lawyer. The lawyer will set up an intermediary or set up a system by which you can see your kids, because the protective order is only against the spouse. There's no reason why you can't see the kids, and your lawyer should be able to work through that through third-party contacts, command supervised visits, and things of that nature. Have you dealt with that before?
I certainly have. In some circumstances, especially overseas, Army Community Services, if you're in the Army, their family advocacy program is a great third party that will help that supervised vision of the children and the transfer of the kids back and forth. So they can be that third party in addition to the chain of command.
And oftentimes the command doesn't know this, but a no contact order, a military protective order, is supposed to be narrowly tailored to obtain the desired result, right? You can't say, okay, I'm going to prohibit him from going to Tower Barracks because that's where the victim works and lives, and that's going to be a protective. Well, that's overly broad, right? And so you should have a much more narrowly tailored protective order, and your counsel, your lawyer, should be able to assist you in doing that. What do you think the number one reason for non-compliance with a military protective order is?
Probably soldiers who want to get their stuff, because usually it's the soldier who is removed from the home if it's a domestic violence allegation, and the soldier needs their uniforms or their stuff. So they're just going to go back to the house, or they're going to ask a friend to talk to the spouse to get their stuff. And that's where they run into problems.
Okay. I agree. And if you want your stuff, if you need to do that, you need to coordinate through your command and through your lawyer to get that done. And there's something that I like to call pretext violations. And these are, sometimes you get a protective order, a military protective order, and somebody is going to kind of lure you into violating that order. And those happen when, all right, you've been issued a protective order. Maybe it's a girlfriend that you're not supposed to see, and she's angry because you haven't left your wife, and you got all kinds of problems, right? So that girlfriend's going to ping you, going to reach out to you and try to get you to violate that protective order, maybe because she's just angry, right? If you get contacted by somebody you're prohibited from seeing, block them and do not respond, and report it immediately to your lawyer, who will probably, if they're smart, report it to the chain of command.
100%.
Right. And then the second type is what I call the bait. And that is, some of her friends will say, hey, look, Lucy wants you to reach out and talk to her. You can use my phone. And that's the kind of the bait situation, which gets you in just as much trouble as anything else. And there's also the digital landmines that I alluded to before. Your emoji on her Facebook account or on her Insta account. Those are all bad things to do. So you need to absolutely avoid that. So protect yourself in social media, protect yourself against the gotchas, and protect yourself against, getting your stuff and seeing your kids. If you're the subject of a military protective order or a no contact order, or if you think those orders are overly broad or too restrictive, reach out. We're the law office of Will M. Helixon. We are your warrior advocates. You defend the nation, we defend you.